Welcome to the Sports Bros Podcast, featuring the almighty B Live, the money man Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative Eddy. The Sports Bros Podcast, by the fan, for the fan, talking sports just the way you like it. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the Sports Bros. Here it is. It's another Tuesday. You know what that means? It's time for your favorite sports podcast, none other than the Sports Bros Podcast. I think it's episode number 167. I lost count, but we're like 160 plus episodes in this thing called the Sports Bros Podcast. Scottie D looking good. You handsome devil, you. Me, I'm over keeping it together. The money man with the money team and everything. But enough of my incoherent rambling. I have two of the best co-hosts in the world. One, which will join us later, but introducing right here with me, the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania. He is the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the money man, Scottie D.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? Stole that one, but start me up, don't ever stop. Woo! We're starting up without the big guy today. That just gives me an opportunity actually to say something without getting covered up here. But lot to say here, Eddy. Cool. Hey, did you see preseason football's here? Did you see that?
Yes, I got a chance to see some preseason football.
The Hall of Fame game happened.
Yep.
It was a thriller.
Yep, it was a thriller in Manila. Yeah, I listened to most of it on the radio. And Tony Pacella was talking about, the 6 years that it took him to get into the Hall of Fame. And, so finally, I think he's the first Jaguars ever to go member of the Jaguars to be in the Hall of Fame. So that's not a bad thing.
Oh, is that right? Is that true?
Yep. Oh, Scottie, also, you're probably not going to like this, but Saturday night, I had a chance to watch a little CFL action.
Oh,
and exciting. I think it was. Scottie D, it was. I mean, the BC Lions, they beat the brakes off the Edmonton Elks. like they did.
The Edmonton Elks? I thought they were the Eskimos.
Well, Scottie, you can't call them Eskimos no more.
Is that politically incorrect in Canada?
I guess so. I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I went to the CFL game back in 2019, they were the Eskimos. Now they're the Elks. But the best thing about it is they didn't have to change too many color schemes, so just change the name of the team. I forgot who this guy was for the BC Lions. I think he threw for like 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Wow.
360 yards. And I think I'll have to check the score later, but like I fell asleep, Scottie, and I think he threw 3 touchdowns while I was asleep. And then I woke up and the game was like 45-7. It was just brutal. And I guess the single game passing the single game passing record for the CFL is like 714 held by Matt Dunnigan. And I'm like, what? So yeah, it was a completely lopsided affair. I was like, let me see what's going on here. And I was like, okay, Edmonton, BC. And I was like, oh, this is getting ugly real fast. But towards the end of the podcast, I'll have that score and them stats. All right, let's get this thing started. Here it is, the top of the order. Yep, Scottie D, we lost a legend this past week. Vin Scully, the one-man show himself. 67 years on the job, Scottie D. Some people came to stay on the job for 5 years, but yeah, you got Vin Scully doing the thing for 67 years, man. What you got to say about Vin Scully? Because I know he was one of your favorites.
Oh, well, a few years ago, we did our Choices of the Voices poll and who we thought was the best announcer in sports. And I said Vin Scully was the greatest announcer in the history of any sport. And I stick to that. On October 15th, 1988, the best team in baseball was winning game 1 of the World Series 4-3 in the bottom of the 9th inning with the best relief pitcher in the world on the mound with 2 outs. And up to the plate came the National League MVP, Kirk Gibson, hobbling due to injuries to both of his legs. And you know the rest. Gibson smacked the ball into the right field stands, and she is gone. Pandemonium broke loose. The crowd went bananas. And after a minute or so silence, Vin Scully says, "In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened."
Wow.
What great words to just come up with. Because now when you watch that, when you go back, and we've seen that clip hundreds of times, it's on all the time. It's like watching a movie clip. I mean, the intensity with Eckersley throwing to Gibson, and he's fouling off pitch. It's like a movie, but there's no script. And Vin Scully is the narrator of that movie, and it just brought that light to life. He passed away last Tuesday, August 2nd, at the age of 94. As you mentioned, he was a Dodgers broadcaster from 1950 to 2016. From Jackie Robinson to Tommy Lasorda to Fernando Mania, from Sandy Koufax to Clayton Kershaw, and from transistor radios to XM Sirius radio. And he was there. He was just as cool the whole way through. He was a great storyteller. I mean, it's been said about him by multiple people this week. He was a great storyteller. He was a gentleman. He was a celebrity that was as popular in Los Angeles as Magic Johnson. Back in probably about 2013 or 2014, I continued my almost expired XM radio subscription because I was working at a sports bar and I was getting off late at night. And so when I was driving home, I wanted to listen to Dodgers games on the radio for that brief amount of time. And Eddie, I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I liked tuning in on my ride home from work just to listen to Vin Scully. Even when he was on Major League Baseball TV once in a while, I can remember I was about to leave the house. I'm going to sit here and watch a couple innings of this just because you wanted to hear Vin Scully's voice. I mean, he is elegant and classy, but his voice was so soothing. He was like always having somebody there because he was always around. You know, he was like iced tea on the porch on a summer evening, or a hug from mom after a bad day. He was soothing. His voice would just make it feel like everything's okay. If you're having a bad day, you hear Vin Scully's voice and it'd soothe you. You know, it was like going home. And even there were reports this week of people that said that they would go to Dodgers games in the early days and the fans in the stands would have transistor radios. They're watching it live, but they wanted to listen to Vin Scully tell them what they're seeing. You know, he was the narrator of the soundtrack to their lives to the Dodgers fans. Again, he is the greatest broadcaster in the history of the sport, and he will be missed. I mean, he was, he'd already retired, but he still maintained a presence and he was around. But farewell, Vin Scully. You were the best to ever do it, my man. Very, very class act. And it was nice to hear some of the tributes that poured out to him this past week, Eddie. I mean, there's not a negative thing to be said about Vin Scully anywhere across the board. And you and I were talking about it before we started recording, some of the different things that he had significance with when it came to, like, he actually did NFL for a little while, and his voice, you ever watch old clips of Dwight Clark catching the ball against the Dallas Cowboys, and Vin Scully's voice, is painting the picture of that play. And then I was mentioning to you how they weren't recording games like in the 60s. In September 1965, Sandy Koufax was in the process of throwing a perfect game, which was his fourth no-hitter. And at that time, nobody had ever done that before. Nolan Ryan has since surpassed that. But they didn't have like taped recordings of the game back then. So when they were going into the ninth inning, Vin Scully suggested that they would record with a record. They made a record of it, of the ninth inning of him doing covering Sandy Koufax as he recorded the final 3 outs, and Koufax on that night struck out the last 6 batters, and Vin Scully eloquently painted that picture for those who were listening to that game. So he was a legend, Eddie Cole. That's all you can say. A legend of baseball, a guy who will always be intertwined within the fabric of the game.
Yeah, you're all right about that. And Scottie D, as I'm looking on his Wikipedia profile, did you know that he also did play-by-play for the PGA Tour Golf?
He did for a little while. He worked for NBC Sports for a couple terms, CBS Sports for a couple terms, I believe. Yeah, and golf and football were, on his resume in addition to just doing the Dodgers. For a while, he was doing, I think they said like about 100 or so Dodgers games a year, and because he had some of these other commitments. But it didn't matter where he was at; he was good. he could do it all. He could do the best of them. He actually had been paired with John Madden at one point prior to his permanent partnership with Pat Summerall. They felt like the producers felt like there was a little bit more chemistry with Madden and Summerall, and hard to argue that. Is and as we were talking earlier, Vin Scully worked alone a good bit of time, especially in the baseball booth. He didn't have a color commentator. He would just tell you what the sunrise looked like, and if a player came up to bat that no one had ever heard of before, he would tell you about where he was from, his parents and stuff. I mean, small things that just brought the whole game to life, just made the game better. And I mean, what more can you ask of a broadcaster than to just make the game better? And he certainly did that.
Yeah, he really did make the game better because, as I told you, I think one of the few telecasts I was able to listen to Vin Scully and watch the Dodgers game, like he just painted like from a guy that has started doing color commentary back in December. Kind of sort of know what the hell I'm doing, but you got to make the most of the situation. What he was able to do, the Dodgers are up 3-2, bottom of the third inning. It's a nice night here in Southern California at Chavez Ravine. And like for a minute there, like I was watching the game, but I just sat back and closed my eyes and kind of just let him just paint this picture. Like, okay, like I can he would make you envision it. He would make you see
yes.
it. Yes. And then like you said, there was a player, I forgot who he was that nobody heard of. And during the whole at bat, if it was a ball, it was a strike, he would call it, but he would tell like the whole backstory. He played at AAA Pawtucket, and then he came through the farm system and originally drafted by the Braves in the 135th round and was traded to the Dodgers, and now he works way. I mean, just like you can literally, he would literally take the box and open up and unfold it, every single crease and corner. Like, I think that, to be honest with you, Scottie D, I think that's a lost art.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a different world today in that you get the images painted in front of you. But when he began in an era where most people in America didn't have a television, they were listening to this stuff on the radio, and it was his job to paint that picture for you so you could visualize what's going on. He would tell you the color of the uniforms and if the sun was setting or the sun was bright or if it was cloudy. He did all that stuff, and he did it with such ease. It was so natural, and that just always remained part of his style. So when he was doing radio, even for XM radio, when you're listening to Sirius XM, you're picking up local broadcasts, but he was painting that picture for the people of Los Angeles, and I'm listening to it. And, it just, you can just envision what he's telling you. He just painted all with such a specific stroke. It made it so enjoyable. And the tenor of his voice was so soothing. And I mean, wasn't just a guy who was good at it. He was blessed with an incredible voice. And I heard so many different things, many different stories. I listened to MLB TV or MLB network on the radio all last week. The day he passed, the following morning, I listened to it all day, and there was tons of stories pouring in. And before we move, I'll give you one more little brief one before we move on to our next topic. But there was a announcer from the public address announcer from the Arizona Diamondbacks called in, and I don't remember his name other than he said his first name was Chuck. And he called in. He was saying that his first year working for the Diamondbacks, they had a 3-game series with the Dodgers. And he saw Vin Scully walking down the hallway. And of course, he's like just marking out. He's, his fandom is at all-time level to see him. So he said, I spoke to him, and he said he was gracious enough to give me a couple minutes of his time. And he said, this is my first year with the Diamondbacks. I'm doing the public address announcing, and I just want to say, I appreciate you. And he said, well, I'll be listening for you, Chuck. And, and away they went. And so he said 2 days later, after the series was coming, he was like in a cafeteria or catering, and he was eating, and he said, he looked over and there was Vin, and they made eye contact and kind of nodded at him. He said, Vin came over to him, said, Chuck, you did good. And he said, it was just the fact that he had taken the time to remember my name and come over and say something to me. He said 17 years he had been doing this now, but that was the highlight of his career, is the conversation with Vin Scully. And that was a theme that you got from a lot of players who said they were thrilled to hear their names said by him for the first time. And just there's endless, countless stories and examples that created Vin Scully is to be like the storyteller and the gentleman and the class act that he was. But you know, you just you'd feel better having listened to him. I mean, he was great for the game.
Yep, and Daddy was great for the game. Some of his awards that he won back in 1982, he won the Ford C. Frick Award. And then in 2014, the Commissioner's Historic Achievement Award. In 2016, he got a Presidential Medal of Freedom Award. He also has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Los Angeles Dodgers microphone is retired, and his career lasted with the Brooklyn Dodgers / the LA Dodgers from 1950 to 2016. Scottie D, 67 years on the job. That's that's something. That's something very special. Thank you for your contribution to not only Major League Baseball, Vin Scully, but also to color commentators and myself, and those of us that aspire to be what you are. But those are some big shoes to fill. Let me tell you, let me tell you, Scottie D. While we're talking about baseball, some trades happened. Some things made sense, and some things didn't make sense. And there was one particular trade like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. But there was one particular trade by a first place team that traded their closer, who led the league in saves. What's up with that? What's going on with that?
Yeah, good for the Padres. They were able to land Josh Hader from the Brewers, but it's very rare for a team that's in first place to trade one of their top players. And I know they got what was the young man's name? Taylor Rogers back. Milwaukee got Taylor Rogers, a couple other pitchers in the deal. And this Taylor Rogers is a pretty good closer in his own right, but Josh Hader is the cream of the crop right now. So San Diego is going all in. I know that some of the players on Milwaukee were not happy. I know Christian Yelich in particular was known to be moping around a little bit unhappy with that whole situation. So yeah, it's a little puzzling, other than maybe the Brewers are just they're thinking what their finances can afford them in the long term, and Taylor Rogers is a younger player, so they'll have a closer going forward here for the next couple of years. Maybe, who knows, if there's some internal issues with Josh Hader. I don't know. I hadn't heard any of that. I know half the league was scratching their heads too, saying, man, what do the Padres know that we don't know? They were able to just go out and get that guy. But the Padres are all in, and that was even more evident when they traded a crop of young players for Juan Soto and Josh Bell. We knew this was coming, Eddie. You said you thought it may not happen until maybe the off season, but I from what I heard, and trust me, I'm not a minor league baseball scout, but the Washington Nationals did very well in this deal. The guys they got back are like blue chip, can't miss prospects. From what I hear, I mean, that's just, in quotes that you say that type of thing. But from what I understand, this rebuild for Washington has been fast tracked because they got some really good young players out of this deal. And, there was several suitors for Juan Soto. So, I mean, you're getting a guy that's 23 who's projected to be on a Hall of Fame path. And he has, I think, 2 more years left on his contract. So it's not like you're getting an expiring contract that you're gonna have to renegotiate to get his services back for next year. You got him. I mean, this is you got him. You got a good young player, and Josh Bell along the way too, who's having a pretty good year at the plate, to go along with Manny Machado and now Josh Hader closing. They also signed made a trade to get Brandon Drury for infield depth, and he hit a grand slam his first at bat with San Diego. So the Padres are all in, and you got to give it credit. All their chips are on the table. They got supposed to be getting Fernando Tatis coming back off of injury. That's a nice looking lineup, man. I'm telling you. So they're in it for not just this year, but for to contend. Now, They have to win a wild card game. Have to remain on track, win a wild card game to get into the tournament, so to speak. But if they do, I mean, they're going to be dangerous right here. They're going to be really, really hard to beat with that type of lineup. But if you're a Nationals fan, I know you hate it. I know it sucks. You have lost all these guys that won your World Series in 2019. But they got a nice little haul back. So their general manager did his due diligence, just didn't take the first offer on the table to move Juan Soto. But he got some quality back to him. And Eddie, there's another head scratcher for me.
What's another? What is it, Scottie D?
Well, as a guy who roots for the Yankees, you know, they went and got Frankie Montas the day before the deadline from the A's, and he was looked at as one of the top pitchers out there this year. Him and Luis Castillo from the Reds, who went to the Mariners. These were the guys that were looked at as like the top available pitchers. And he didn't look so hot on Sunday. He got rocked pretty good by the Cardinals. But at the beginning of the week, they had Jordan Montgomery in their rotation, and they traded him to St. Louis. And by the end of the week, he'd already beaten the Yankees. And I'm not really sure why the Yankees, looking for pitching, traded a guy who was pretty solid back into the rotation guy. And they have Luis Severino, who is hurt. He's out. Garrett Cole struggled mightily his last time out. The Yankees are leaking oil here. They had this Clay Holmes, who I told you was terrible because he was a pirate trying to be the closer. He's leaking oil. He's getting roughed up. He's throwing the ball all over the yard. Aroldis Chapman doesn't look confident. He's a mess right now. The Yankees have pitching problems, and this one guy, Jordan Montgomery, he's been pitching well, and they traded him to the Cardinals, and he beats them 1-0 on Saturday night. I'm not sure. They got a center fielder, Harrison Bader. He's injured. That was the trade they made. And they still have Aaron Hicks, who, now granted, he was in a 0 for 32 slump before Sunday. He broke out of it with, I think he had 3 hits and a walk on Sunday. So, you know, but that's one game. So I know that they're you know, looking for depth, but Harrison Bader's only like a 250 hitter, really good defensive player. You know, he'll run through a wall to catch a ball for you, that type of thing. But to give up a starting pitcher, a left-handed pitcher, no less, down the stretch, I mean, this is a time that everybody's seeking more arms, and the Yankees gave up a pitcher. So I don't know. Trade deadline's always interesting, but this year, more than any time I can remember, there's a couple of them. I really don't get that.
Yeah, just like you said with the Hader guy from Milwaukee. Like you said, he led the league in saves. His team's in first place in the division, and we're just gonna let you walk, huh? Like I don't get it. I'm like, wait a minute, they did what? And I mean, as long as what they got back in return helps them out, you know, in the immediate future, because he's one of the top closers in all of baseball. What you don't want to do is just put yourself into a situation where you give away your closer, and then and then you're bad after that, because you don't want to, you know, you don't want to be good everywhere else and be weak at closer, because as you know, Scottie, the closers are a premium. Speaking of closers, like you said, Aroldis Chapman, you know, I don't know, he don't look like himself. He does not look like himself. Old flame throwing Aroldis, I remember that, but now, I mean, not as much, man. He doesn't. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, he has a hard time getting the ball across the plate, and if he walks somebody and has to pitch with a runner on, and he's a mess because he's so worried about that stolen base.
Sweating bullets.
Yeah.
That boy sweats bullets.
Well, he has such a high leg kick too that a walk is essentially giving up a double, and you know, so he worries so much about it. His concentration goes out the window. It's just not good for him to pitch with runners on base. He's a different guy altogether with runners on base. But yeah, I just didn't quite. The Yanks they're you know, they were otherworldly in the first half of the season, and they are back down to earth. I mean, I think they're under 500 since the All-Star break, having just gotten swept by St. Louis this past weekend, who seemed to be on a different trajectory post deadline. And I think it's been a couple games since Judge has hit a home run. I mean, this is a Tuesday, you know, we don't know what's going on at this point, but yeah, the Yankees look extremely beatable right now. I mean, their starting pitching the last couple games has not done very well for them. Although they lost 1-0 on Saturday, so that, you know, that's just the bats went to sleep that night against a former teammate. It's just crazy, but yeah, man, looking forward to. I mean, there's the pennant races are on. Eddie Cool, the wild card races are heating up. Pennant races on.
Yep. Didn't we predict St. Louis to be a sleeper team?
They're always in it, man. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't. St. Louis is just that's a franchise that just always makes good moves, produces good players out of their farm system. They landed Paul Goldschmidt a couple years ago. He's looking like an MVP right now. Yeah, they're always good. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. St. Louis doing St. Louis things, I guess. And so
yeah,
that's what they do. But Scottie D, looking at my watch, well, my phone actually, because that's what we do here. Guess what time it is?
Huh. What time is it?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's time for our favorite portion of the show. You guessed it. It is the choices of the voices. And with that being said, hey, yo, button, hit it. Choices of the voices coming right back.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful and ever so lovely Miss Button for introducing our favorite portion of the show. Too loud for you there, Scott?
I knew it was coming.
I tried to pull it back a little bit. You guessed it is our favorite portion of the show, the choices of the voices. It makes us smile. It makes us happy. It makes us laugh. Sometimes it makes us yell at you guys, but you know what? We wouldn't have it any other way, because if it wasn't y'all, there wouldn't be no damn choices of the voices. With that being said, Scottie D, what's on tap for this week's choices of the voices?
All right, so the question that we posed was, who is more likely to win another championship? Tom Brady, the short version of his name, or King James, LeBron James? Who will more likely win another championship, Brady or LeBron? And must have been too hard of a question to ask to answer, because we didn't have a whole lot of people that answered, but we did have a couple of good creative answers, starting with your boy here.
Good old Trey Dizzle. The gift that keeps on giving. He said, and you'll love this one. He said, Arch Manning, all right, is going to win the Super Bowl before Dak Prescott.
All right, so he went completely off topic altogether. Just to throw another Dak dig in there.
Yeah.
So in other words, Trey, you're not predicting the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl this year. Is that, if I'm to understand correctly? We're not picking the Cowboys this year. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's what it sounds like. He says he's going to draft Dak during fantasy football, so we'll see.
Because he wants to jinx him into getting him hurt.
Yeah. Trey Duke, you play to win the game. All right, so here we go. We got Paul Ward. Paul Ward said, that's easy. I don't think LeBron sees another ring. Scottie D had to literally twist that answer out of him. He got it.
He said that's easy, and then he didn't give us any reason why that was easy. So, but he did come out with LeBron is not going to win another one, so he's leaning towards Tom Brady. All right, so one for Tom Brady and one for Arch Manning.
All right, 0 for LeBron. All right, so here's my favorite one, Scottie D. We just had a conversation about this off air. Craig Burns says Jaromir Jagr will win a Stanley Cup before either of them wins a title.
Go ahead.
I just asked him, I'm like, Scottie D, he might not be BS because ain't Jagr still playing?
He might be. And what's funny is the picture that he put on that accompanied his answer, where Jagr has like this big bushy, like country western style beard going there. I mean, it doesn't even look like Jaromir Jagr anymore. It looks like ZZ Top kind of on ice. So he chose neither. He chose Jaromir Jagr. So far we have one vote for Jaromir Jagr, one vote for Arch Manning, and one for Tom Brady.
Yeah, this is great. All right, so Martin Tracy, he said, I would hate to see LeBron in Celtics green, but to answer your question, LeBron probably has more chances only because he has more years left to play. But Tom has the best between the two based on the weapons above him, based on the weapons around him and, how his team didn't play last year. So to surmise all that up, he says, I'm betting on Tom to do it every year for the future to get the Super Bowl and win this year. Bank it, watch it. And then he also said, Brady is focused, told his wife, too bad, I'm playing football. He got that forever chip on his shoulder. And he was so close last year. So he betting on Tom Brady.
Yeah, not a surprise there. He's a Brady fan, but I mean, well, his answers make sense. I mean, it's not it's Brady did have a good team last year, and he did play well last year, so he's basing on that. And LeBron did not. LeBron's team was doo-doo last year, and I don't even know if they have a team right now. The Lakers even have enough guys on the roster. It's a mess. The Lakers are a mess. So, very good answer from Martin Tracy.
All right, shout out to Trey Dizzle, Paul Ward, Craig Burns, Yarmer Yager, and Martin Tracy for their participation in this week's Choices of the Voices. Very interesting topic. And with that being said, Scottie D, I'll go first.
All right.
It didn't take me long to think about this. Tom, Edward, Patrick, Carmichael, Peterborough, Jefferson, Anderson, Dodson, Smith, Jones, Donnelly, Vereen, Livingston, Bellamy, Brady the third. Reason being is because there's no significant drop-off as far as his team goes. They'll be getting Mike Evans back. Chris Godwin is already back in training camp after, tearing his ACL and going through a hellacious recovery. And then they went and got Julio Jones, another dude that my Carolina Panthers got to deal with. See, I don't know if he is, but this is that's sweat. That's sweat of aggravation. So think about it. For 2 weeks out of the year, we got to deal with Julio Jones, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. And then if Leonard Fournette, cuts weight, because I think he's like 266 pounds.
Yeah, they said he came to the camp looking like the fridge.
Yeah, looking like Zion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you're an athlete and you're from the state of Louisiana, you live down there, it has got to be hard to back away from the table. Because everything is fried, spicy, and good. You heard me? Especially when them girls down there call you baby and all that. But anyways, like I said, I think Tom Brady has the best chance between him and LeBron, because as Scottie D said, the Lakers are like absolute doo-doo last year, and we don't know what's going to be going on with the Lakers. Will Westbrook be coming off the bench? Will he even be starting? What is street clothes? I'm sorry, Mr. Glass. Anthony Davis, what is he going to do? Key components that they had from the championship team from a few years ago, they're not there anymore. No Kuzma, no Caruso. It's a lot of unanswered questions out in LA. And if I'm a betting man, I'm rolling with Tom, Edward, Patrick, Carmichael, Fitzgerald, Brady, the fifth. What say you, Scottie D?
Well, I'm a little conflicted in how I want to answer this, because I believe that Tom Brady has a better chance of winning another championship if it happens this year. Because I do think with like you said, all those guys, that a good receiving core coming back, he does have a little bit of question mark with the head coaching change, but I would think there'd be enough continuity where that's not going to mess things up. And if Fournette loses 100 pounds, whatever, And I think with the NFC, I don't know that the NFC is going to be very deep this year, especially you look at Aaron Rodgers is now going to be 38 years old, and his best weapon plays for the Raiders. I think the Cowboys got worse in the offseason. I don't know what other teams are ready to surge into that next level other than the Rams, who are the defending champions. So that's the team they almost had beat anyway last year when it came down to the postseason. So to think that the Rams are that far ahead of the Buccaneers, I think would be false. I think that I kind of feel, and this is early, it's August. We haven't even started camp, but the injuries haven't affected the teams and the acquisitions, all that. I think right now the Buccaneers and the Rams would have to be considered the two favorite teams to come out of the NFC. And not even saying what happens if they would get to a Super Bowl, the AFC. You can't win a Super Bowl unless you get there. So I'm just saying to get to a championship game and have the opportunity, I think Brady has a better chance this year. But for the reason that Martin Tracy, Matty Ice originally said, is that LeBron will have more opportunities. I think I have to pick LeBron as my actual answer to the question, because I think it's hard to win a Super Bowl and Not it's hard. Not that it's not hard to win any other championship, but there's so many more players involved with the injuries and coaching, so all the reasons we said. And suppose he does get to the Super Bowl, then has to face the Bengals or the Bills or the Chargers or the Chiefs. It's a bigger uphill climb. LeBron's not winning the championship this year. That's, I'm just going to put that out there. That's not going to happen this year. But he does, if I'm not mistaken, LeBron has a chance right now. Isn't he eligible to sign an extension with the Lakers? Mm-hmm. And he wants to hang around a little bit to see if he can play with his son, Bronny, if he gets into the NBA. And who knows what that could look like. Suppose Bronny's a late first-round pick onto a team that's already a contender. And LeBron says, I would like to join that team. So he could end up on a really good team, a championship caliber team, if he plays another 3 or 4 years. So I think I have to pick LeBron just based strictly on him having more opportunities. He might have another 4 cracks at it, 5 cracks at it. Brady, I think, probably has 1 more crack at it, because even if he plays beyond this year, I just can't see him playing that. I mean, we've said that before, but he is about 45, 46. I just, when teams win championships in the NFL, when they win Super Bowls, they have tendency to gradually slide further away from that peak as time goes on. Mm-hmm. So I think Brady might have 1 more good crack at it. I think LeBron, like you said, who knows, even if he stays with the Lakers for another 3 or 4 years, who's to say that the Lakers don't bring in somebody good in the next couple of years, or trade Anthony Davis for a couple of good players? You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's a lot more question marks with LeBron, but there are a lot more opportunities with LeBron. So I'm picking LeBron in this instance. I think he has a better chances because he has more chances. That's a mathematical answer, not one completely done with the heart, but mathematically speaking. So that's why I came to that conclusion. I wonder what B Live is thinking on this topic.
With that being said, hey, B Live, what say you? Oh, well, look who finally decided to join us. The money man, he had to take away and take off for a little bit, had to go do his work thing and whatnot. And joining us right now is the second of the 2 best co-hosts in the world. Here he is, the almighty B Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? I decided to join a little bit late, and unlike what the head of creative just said, I'm the one. Scottie D is the 2, and I'm the 1. That's a little reference to WWE, because that's where I was at yesterday, because finally the WWE has come back to Fayetteville. Man, the Sunday Stunner. The fellas recorded on Sunday. I'm recording on Monday. Eddy Cool's going to WWE Raw in Cleveland. So, we just shifting out our schedule and everything, but I could not leave the people without your boy, the almighty B Live. I did get to see the almighty Bobby Lashley retain his U.S. championship. Man, it was an awesome card, by the way. Man, Bianca Belair. I was responsible for the first chant. EST. Yeah, that was me. Sunday, man. It was just really cool. It was a really, really good show. Had a lot of their top talent there. It would have been nice to have Rey Mysterio, because Dominic Mysterio was there. Okay. Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest. No Rhea. Oh. It's all right. But I digress. That's what I was doing yesterday. That's why I'm so full of energy right now. But I could not miss the podcast this week. So, man, you know what? I appreciate my fellas covering the death of Vin Scully, legend in the game. Absolutely appreciate that. The 7 decades of broadcasting. That is literally doing what you love and not working a day in your life. And Vin Scully was the best at it. So, man, hats off to him. And so I just wanted to say that little piece. And then there was some type of question that we asked the people. What was that? What was that? I got to get into the game. I got to get ready. Let's get it. What's going on? Yes, sir.
All right, Be Live, your timing is perfect, or we want to save the best for last. All right. And the question for this week's Choice of the Voices was, who is more likely to win another championship? Tom, Edward, Patrick, a million names, Fitzgerald Brady, or LeBron James? What say you, Be Live?
I'm gonna do everybody a solid. I'm be honest. The best part about this segment is that I get to joke and pick at people's reasoning and their answers. I did not read the responses from the voices this week, and I apologize. So I'm going to make up for that by expressing why I say neither. I'm breaking the rules. That's what I'm good for. The reason why Tom Brady is not going to win anything is because he doesn't have an offensive line anymore. He's got 3 new starters in the interior part of the line. Those are the 3 guys that stand right in front of Tom Brady, and they are brand new. They haven't started before. They just picked them up. Tom Brady is going to be running with like a chicken with his head cut off. He'll figure out a way, but it's not Super Bowl worthy. It just ain't going to happen. LeBron James, it's okay. It's all right. It ain't going to happen just because y'all literally gave up every bit of hope or chance of any youthful exuberance on the team by handpicking who you thought would win a championship. And now, if the NBA had a seniors tour, then maybe you may have a chance. I mean, this segment right now is sponsored by AARP. Come on, man. I still to this day I will never understand how LeBron James thought that another ball dominant person on the team would equate to success. It's just not going to happen. You got unless Russell Westbrook develops an off the ball 3-pointer, which I just don't see happening. Anthony Davis has to be the healthiest that he's ever been. That hasn't happened. And then I still don't even know their role players. It's not going to happen. To be true to Scottie D's question, I'm going to say Tom Brady has a better chance. But it ain't happening. It's just not happening. Tom Brady, you've done it. You've done everything that has been asked of you to do, and then some. Play out this last year, make it a fair. Honestly, Tom Brady, make it a farewell tour, and now announce it now, and let everybody give you your flowers as you justly deserve. But here's the thing: we just don't know. So that's why everybody's so hesitant, like celebrate the man. Shoot, ESPN came out with a whole documentary thinking that it was going to be his last year, and he's nope. You know what? I'm back. And then you got the Dolphins, and they've been trying to get Tom Brady for years, even though he was under contract. What are we doing here?
Which wound up costing them a bunch of money.
Woo! $1.5 million. And I think they also I think like the senior vice president or something like that or whatever, he got fined $500,000. They lost the first round pick 2023, third round pick 2020. Oh boy.
I understand. I understand shooting the shot, but to the point where it just kind of just legally like you can't do that, and that's definitely not a good look. So Be Live, his choice of the voices answer was neither. Not an A1, not Nathaniel. No. Oh man, he said not a single one.
That's why I want them. Honestly, I'm just at the point where I really want them to allow the sport to move on.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate new heroes. Let's celebrate new stars. You've done it. Both Tom Brady and LeBron James, they're both on the Mount Rushmore of their respective sports. Let's put it out. You've done it. There's not much more you can do. Tom Brady is the GOAT in football. LeBron James, sorry, that's going to be for debate for the rest of your life. And I'm going to tell you right now, even winning a 5th championship, you're still not going to be the GOAT to a lot of people. It isn't going to be. It's just not the case. So honestly, right out this. Well, he's not going anywhere because his ultimate goal is to play with his son in the league, which I'm still not convinced that his son is good enough to be in the league, but he's going to make it in the league just by his namesake on. So I'm just putting that out there. You're setting up your son for failure. I don't think he's that good. He's not you. There's a reason why Michael Jordan's sons did not make it. Mm-mm. One of them tried, but it's just that's way too much. You're not gonna do it.
No.
Yeah, it's okay though. It's all right.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna knock him for trying, but that's I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, and that's when you got to find something else to do if that won't work for you. So, with that being said, shout out to everybody for their participation in this week's Choices of the Voices. And Scottie D, what's on tap for next week? Oh, that's right, he ain't here, but he did leave me with the question. All right, so with football coming around the corner, the question is, who do you believe is the best quarterback and tight end combo in NFL history? Once again, who do you believe is the best quarterback and tight end combo in NFL history? I got one that comes to mind, but I'm going to have to conduct some research because there might be, some.
Yeah, that's quarterback tight end. That's not normally a question you hear. That you have to put on your thinking caps.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we want to hear from your peoples.
Yep.
Our voices. Yes. Yep. The Sports Bros familia.
Y'all. The best thing about it is, I think, out of all the podcasts I've ever listened to in the history of me listening to podcasts, I think we come up with some of the best questions that really make you think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that really make you think. All right, that does it for the Choices of the Voices. Coming up next is a round of pepper. And baby, please don't sneeze on me. Coming right at you.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
Well, you heard when it's time for us to go home and get what I call the hell up out of here. But before we go, we got a round of pepper. Baby, like I said before, please don't sneeze and wipe no boogers on me because I can't afford it, all right? You know how we do it. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really here to engage, enlighten, entertain, and educate. It's the 4 E's in no particular order, all right? With that being said, I'll go first. On this day in history, back in 1971, pitcher Satchel Paige gets inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Satchel Paige goes to Cooperstown. He had a long and storied career, and he was the best to ever do it. So on this day in 1971, Satchel Paige says, you know what? Come on in and join the rest of us over here at Cooperstown. Over to you, B Live.
Gotta love it. Satchel Paige. That's just a like iconic name, You just don't hear that in anything else, but
nope.
And here I come with the ridiculousness. Let's go ahead and start off here. Well, some people may know the landscape of college football and all the moving and shaking and everything, NIL deals, super conferences, and all this whatnot. Well, the Pac-12, in a little bit of a disarray right now, they're going to try something. They're going to try something. During the 2022-23 season, you know how social media is pretty much what the world that we live in, and everybody likes a nice little highlight reel, make a catch. You got Moss, Sports Center's top 10, all this other things, highlights upon highlights. Well, the Pac-12 is incentivizing highlight reels in the tune of where if you make it as like a play of the week, the players get paid.
Oh.
And so, in exchange for posting 2 highlights per week after a win or a loss, football players who are approved for the program will receive a total of $1,250, as well as a potential percentage of the program's overall revenue. And essentially, it's an amplified program on Twitter and they like it comes with advertising stuff like that. You know, they gotta get, but the more the highlight videos gets retweeted, the generational revenue can go to the Pac-12 players, and so Pac-12 will say, "Hey, show us a highlight reel, show us a highlight, and you might get paid." Eddy Cool, dub off.
And I tell you what, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. Like you said, you might as well make some money off your name, your image, and your likeness. Ting! All right. All right. With that being said, on this day in history, back in 1975, let's go to New Orleans, baby. All right. On this day in history, back in 1975, the first NFL game played in the Louisiana Superdome between the Houston Oilers and the New Orleans Saints. Yep, the Houston Oilers and the New Orleans Saints. It goes down on that very day, and the Saints didn't get the result that they expected, but it was a close one to the tune of 13-7 as they get handed their first L in their brand new home via the Houston Oilers. You know, it's been a while since anyone has said the Houston Oilers, so maybe that's why I had that little, mental gaffe. But yeah, the Oilers beat the Saints 13-7 in the first home opener in the Superdome back in 1975. Over to you, Be Live.
The Houston Oilers, now the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Oh man. History. Warren Moon. Yep. Oh man. God. Between him and Kurt Warner, just playing in both leagues and accomplishing what they accomplished. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. All right, my second pepper point. Man, I wish Scottie D was here, but I understand as our schedule restraints are concerned, because his affinity for offshoot sports, like offshoot leagues and everything like that. I proudly can announce to the world where a sport is returning in 2023. And it's just a wonderful sport where you combine pads, trampolines, and basketball. Slam ball is making a comeback, returning the summer of 2023, and I'm absolutely here for it. Man, I was like, oh, man, this is out of all sports that exist in life, I think this is one of the ones I would really like to do, but I am grossly out of shape. But hitting the trampoline and they be tackling people too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But man, I'm excited for this. Slam ball is making a comeback. Will return in the summer of 2023, according to TMZ Sports. Eddy Cool. Boom! The ball.
Oh! I'm not going flying. I remember they used to come on TNN, the national network, after ECW. And it was pretty cool back then, but some 20 plus years later, it's great to see like what the adjustments made, like the rule changes and what they've actually done to make it better. So some things Be Live, they just don't go away. They go away for a little bit, be put on pause, be put on suspension. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, this could be interesting. You gotta love sports, man. There's always something going on. Always something going on. All right, Be Live. Third and final pepper point. On this day in history, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, San Francisco Giants outfielder Barry Lamar Bonds hits his 600th career home run. Barry Bonds will later go on a tear, and he is the sole possession as the home run king. Some people want to put an asterisk by it, but he hit more than Hank Aaron, so here we are. All right. So, yeah, Barry Lamar Bonds, his number 600. Be Live. Over to you.
Whew. Barry Bonds needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I said what I said.
Put him in there.
Veterans Commission or Veterans, whatever your name is, put him in there. He deserves to be there. He was a Hall of Famer before steroids, but I digress. All right, my third and final pepper point. The main reason why I'm here today, because I couldn't just let this ride. I couldn't just let it sit back. I couldn't wait another week. This has to be announced because I'm gonna start off with the word irony. Let's start off with that irony. Second thing I'm going to do is go over a disclaimer notes. This in no means whatsoever is trying to make light of a situation, the severity of what's going on, what people may, how they feel about the situation. All of the above. You pretty much know. I just want to lead off with that before I dive into what is really going on in the world today. This is purely just something I laughed at. It was funny to me, but at the same note, I understand where this may not be funny to others, but it should be. August 25th through 27th. The American Massage Therapy Association is holding their national convention August 25th through the 27th. Eddy, could take a wild guess of where they're holding that convention.
Definitely not in Brooksville, South Carolina. I can tell you that much. Okay. Let's see. Does the city border Lake Erie?
I don't know that much about geography, but I'm pretty sure it might. It's close to you, sir. It's very close.
Which means it is not too far away from the Pro Football Hall of Fame if you're heading north.
It'd be slightly north of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yes, about 45 miles away from Canton, Ohio. So,
and not too far away from the birthplace of LeBron James.
Yep, you. Oh man, you're heating up.
It's gonna be. Where's it gonna be?
Yeah, who planned this? It's gonna be in Cleveland, Ohio. What? I mean this purely as a joke, but somebody just lock up Deshaun Watson for that weekend.
It should be a 1-year suspension. Yeah, whatever that weekend is, he need to be something. No, just no. Like who?
You can't make this up.
Be like who is someone somewhere that damn tone deaf as to like they don't know what's going on?
Like, here's the thing.
I do understand that they book events ahead of time, but with everything going on, it's kind of like, is it too late to relocate? I mean, hell, if you can relocate an NBA All-Star weekend,
this would honestly, this is something that they do it all the time.
Okay.
Back in North Carolina, when North Carolina lost their mind when they tried to you have to go to the bathroom according to where you were born, blah blah blah, and made that ridiculous law. Should never. That's a whole nother thing here nor there. But the NCAA took all of their events and said, bye-bye, we're not coming to North Carolina. This might be a good idea to have relocated and not. It's so to be like, hey, Cleveland, hey, you brought this dude in. We're not supporting this at all. But man, I saw this. I said, you got to be kidding. This is my dude. This is my dude, Deshaun Watson. Man, when I saw this, I said, come. The Massage Therapy Association is holding their national convention in Cleveland, Ohio.
World's worst timing. It's just
I mean, for real.
And I'll be honest with you, B Live, somebody sent that to me I thought it was a meme. I'm like, okay, it's a meme. But as soon as you start talking about it, I was like, it is actual freaking news.
Oh, I'm on their official website, amtamassage.org. And I had to look it up myself too. I said, you got to be. This is their official website. All right.
We're speechless here at the Sports Bros Podcast. We are absolutely speechless for the first time in 167 episodes. We ain't really got much to say. Go ahead, be live.
This is what it says on the website. It says reconnect with your massage therapy community. Hear from inspiring speakers and get hands-on training in new techniques.
This ain't it, Chief. This is not it.
I'm gonna get canceled for real.
Stay out of Houston. Stay out of Cleveland. I don't know. Do it in Nebraska somewhere. I don't know. Because this ain't it.
To all people that are in the massage therapy field, this is by no means trying to make light of the situation. People that are affected, not in the slightest bit. This is just a case of irony. This is a case of what is really going on
in the world today.
I swear, oh, man. And this is why I had to be here for this sole reason, because I couldn't just not be here on the podcast and get this reaction. Scottie D, wish you were here. He's gonna be like, what is going on? Oh man. But then, yeah, Eddy Cool. AMTA 2022 National Convention, Cleveland, Ohio.
I just hope it ain't too late to reschedule because this. Anyways, this has been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. Be Live, thank you for joining us for the last portion of the show. Shout out to the Money Man, Scottie D, to our listeners, viewers, subscribers. Please follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. We're going to get some stuff on TikTok and you don't stop pretty soon. We putting on this whole social media just blast and putting everything up there. Shout out to the Sports Bros family and everybody in between, everybody that's been loving us, supporting us. We love you. You know, bust up them likes, share with your friends, laugh, love, joke, and enjoy, because it is a sports podcast that's by the fans, for the fans. Talking sports, just the way you like it. Be Live, you got anything to say before we get up out of here?
Ooh, a full slate of preseason football coming up this weekend. So I am here for it. Atlanta Braves, get your life together. You got beat up way too much by the Mets. I said that was rough. That was rough. But hey, plenty of time, and we're still the reigning, defending, undisputed World Series champions. Yes, sir.
And Jacob deGrom is back. So Be Live. I had a conversation before you got here with Scottie D when we recorded our segment. I had a conversation with him about me watching some football on Saturday night, namely the Canadian Football League, a team that I had a pleasure of seeing a few years ago, the BC Lions and the Edmonton Elks, not the Eskimos, but the Elks, right? So the quarterback for the BC Lions, Nathan Rourke, had a very, very big game. He had a very big game. Let's just say at halftime, the score was 23-0, BC leading Edmonton. Apparently, they pulled out the quarterback in the third quarter and the fourth quarter as well too. And the Elks finally had a chance to get on the board. In the first half, Nate Rourke went 34 for 37. And he threw for 477 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he also had 1 rushing touchdown as well, too.
Good Lord.
And I think the record, if I'm not mistaken, is like 775, held by former quarterback Matt Dunnigan.
And what was the score at halftime again?
23-0. The final score wound up being 46-14.
If he did all of that in the second half and the third quarter, or
I think a little bit in the third quarter, and they pulled him after that because it was outreach by then. So
gotcha.
a familiar name had a big game that night. Lucky Whitehead. That's right, Lucky Whitehead, former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. He had 6 receptions for 148 yards, and he averaged 24.7 yards. Okay, a catch, and he also had 1 touchdown. All right, another guy that benefited from that as well too is Dominique Rhymes, as he went 9 for 91 and he had 3 touchdowns. And yeah, they lit Edmonton ass up. They really did. And I thought he was gonna go for the record because B-Live, like I told Scottie D at one point, I fell asleep. I woke up and it was like 32-0, and I was like, I'm going back to bed because this is over with. This is a West Coast game, and it's over with. All right.
The Cowboys need Lucky Whitehead right now.
Yeah, that 6 for 148. They need a couple guys in this here BC team. They really do. All right, and in closing, do something nice for yourself, and if you can, do something nice for someone else. They greatly appreciate it now more than ever. Be a blessing, not a burden. I'm pretty sure I butchered that line, but y'all know what the hell I mean. I'm not perfect, nor do I claim to be. I love you. Take care. And if you pay somebody a compliment and they don't tell you thank you back, don't wish them a happy birthday. It's been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. Yeah, I'm petty with it. Be live. Take us to the house.
Yes, sir.
It's a hot one. Y'all take care. See you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, it's Eddie Cool here from the Sports Bros Podcast. And do you want some more of the Sports Bros Podcast in your life? Wait a minute, don't answer that. The answer is yes. And I know you want some more of the Sports Bros Podcast in your life. Do us a small favor. Go to the description box, click our Linktree link, and you'll see all the links on how to follow the Sports Bros Podcast. Once again, thanks for listening.